My beloved child, imagine waking up one morning to the chilling realization that every call you made, every message you typed, and every photo you glanced at was being secretly monitored by the government. Don't skip. What I'm about to share could change everything you thought you knew about your privacy. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. For months, law enforcement has had eyes and ears on you, hidden in the shadows, quietly tracking your digital life. At first, you might feel disbelief. Could that really be happening, you wonder? The thought feels like sci-fi, like something out of a movie. But, my beloved child, it's very real. You're probably asking, why me? Why my phone? Why now? Well, hold on tight, because a top lawyer, one of the most respected civil rights attorneys in the country, is now pulling back the curtain. He says there's a shocking reason behind this covert monitoring, and it's not what most people think. Let me take you back to how this nightmare began. Picture this: you go about your daily life. You work, you talk to friends, you share photos. You don't feel like you're doing anything wrong. Yet, unknown to you, some agent, somewhere, has flagged you. Maybe it's a random dragnet. Maybe a tip came in. Or perhaps there's a deeper, more insidious motive at play. This lawyer I mentioned, call him Mr. Harris, has spent decades fighting for privacy rights. He's represented whistleblowers, journalists, activists, people who challenge the powerful. One day, his client came to him trembling. "My phone has been compromised," she said. "I think someone's listening." Mr. Harris didn't brush it off. He dug in. What he found made his blood run cold. Through legal channels, he discovered that not a small number of Americans were being surveilled without their knowledge, and in many cases, without any solid suspicion. That's right, people just like you. Now, you may picture a sinister agent, hunched over a bank of screens, watching your every move. But the reality is far more bureaucratic, far more chilling. Law enforcement agencies, in collaboration with tech companies, had quietly built a system. A system that could listen in, track, record, all under the guise of national security and crime prevention. Here's where the shock really hits. Mr. Harris revealed that in many of these cases, the surveillance was not just about catching criminals. It was about gathering intelligence, political intelligence. It was about identifying dissent. It was about controlling narratives. Imagine policemen and agents surveilling citizens not because they posed a danger, but because their opinions made someone in power uncomfortable. They weren't just watching drug deals or violent crime, they were monitoring peaceful voices, concerned parents, activists speaking up for change. My beloved child, please don't skip now, we're just warming up. The lawyer's investigation uncovered that law enforcement had secret warrants, or sometimes no warrants at all, to access telecommunications data. They used advanced tools to intercept metadata, call logs, text logs, and even location data. In some cases, they accessed the content of messages. Not because there was a legitimate, individual suspicion, but because they framed it as generalized threat monitoring. And here's the worst part: these operations were shrouded in legal gray zones. The agencies defended their actions by pointing to ambiguous statutes, backdoor agreements with tech providers, and loosely overseen intelligence programs. When challenged, they claimed oversight existed, a court. A judge was involved, but the lawyer found that many of these checks were superficial rubber stamp approvals rather than genuine safeguards. Stay with me, because something huge is coming. Mr. Harris obtained sealed documents, internal memos, and never-before-seen contracts between law enforcement and telecom giants. In them, he found chilling language, bulk collection, persistent surveillance, preventive interdiction. These were not just tools for tracking crime, they were tools for anticipating and influencing behavior. He also discovered that this monitoring was not rare. It was widespread. Tens of thousands of ordinary citizens were under sweeping surveillance programs. People who weren't suspects, who hadn't done anything wrong, but whose data pointed to interests, affiliations, or communications that made them worth watching. And even more shockingly, many of those under surveillance had no idea until the very moment that Mr. Harris represented them. Their first knowledge of this violation came when legal papers landed on their desks. You might be thinking, but how can they get away with it? Isn't this unconstitutional? Yes, absolutely. The Fourth Amendment guarantees protection against unreasonable searches. But as Mr. Harris learned, law enforcement agencies worked overtime to reinterpret or bypass those protections. They argued that in a digital age, metadata wasn't the same as content, or that national security concerns trumped individual rights. Don't skip yet, we're about to enter the heart of the storm. One of his cases involved a small community of activists who were organizing peaceful protests. They had a group chat, shared articles, planned events. Nothing illegal, purely civic engagement. Yet, every message, every location ping, every call was intercepted. Law enforcement labeled them potential risk, saying they could escalate. But when Mr. Harris challenged them, the defense's evidence was shockingly weak, often based on vague predictions, not real crimes. He took the case to court. He presented his evidence, secret surveillance orders, raw data trails, internal memos. The agency pushed back, arguing national security, labeled his client as intelligence interest. But in the courtroom, the tension was electric, a top lawyer versus a faceless surveillance state. My beloved child, this fight was not just his, it became ours. Because the more he revealed, the more people realized, your phone might be talking to them. By the end of part 1, you understand the magnitude. This is not just about crime fighting. This is about power. This is about control. And now, you're sitting on the edge, wondering, what are they doing with all this data? Who's really behind it? Stay till the end. Don't skip. There's more, and it's even more shocking. In this next chapter, my beloved child, the real reason behind the surveillance starts to emerge. You're not just a subject, you're part of a broader tapestry that law enforcement and intelligence agencies carefully weave in the name of national preservation. Something huge is waiting for you, so don't skip. As Mr. Harris peeled back layer after layer, he discovered that this wasn't solely about catching criminals. It was about influencing public opinion. Yes, you heard that right. The lawyer found secret back channels where law enforcement fed intelligence agencies information that could be used for propaganda, shaping political narratives from the inside. He uncovered that many of the people under surveillance weren't random targets, they were activists, journalists, community leaders, social media influencers. People whose voice mattered, people who could sway minds. And without their knowledge, their private conversations had been funneled into briefings for powerful decision-makers. Think about that for a moment. Your phone, your personal space, turned into a surveillance device, and your private words potentially weaponized to influence entire communities. Don't skip now, this is the core. Stay till the end, because the next revelation is going to blow you away. In one particularly jaw-dropping instance, Mr. Harris stumbled on a multi-phase operation where law enforcement collaborated with intelligence agencies to track protest planning before any protest even began. They identified organizers through metadata, and then quietly infiltrated their groups by recruiting informants, not to catch a crime, but to steer the movement. But the real shocker? These operations often had no public oversight. The lawyer found that in more than one jurisdiction, there were no meaningful court hearings. No telling a judge in open court what was happening. Everything was done in secret, under classified orders, behind closed doors. He also found contracts with telecommunications companies, big names you know, where the companies agreed to provide data, under pressure, with limited transparency. The companies claimed national interest, they claimed compliance, but Mr. Harris saw through the euphemisms. The agreements were built to look legal, but functionally, they enabled constant surveillance. My beloved child, this is not speculation. This is documented. This is proof. The lawyer also uncovered financial ties. In some cases, law enforcement agencies granted lucrative contracts to certain tech firms that cooperated. The mutual benefit was clear: agencies got data, companies got profit. Meanwhile, individuals, ordinary people, paid with their privacy. And the emotional toll on those monitored was heartbreaking. One of Mr. Harris's clients, a schoolteacher, realized he had been under surveillance for months. He described the feeling as constant violation. He said, "It's like someone is living inside my pocket, reading my every thought." He told the lawyer that he now hesitated before sending any message, fearful that his words could be taken out of context, misconstrued, weaponized. Don't skip. Stay with me, there's more. What makes this even more chilling is the tactic of preemptive disruption. In some of these surveillance programs, law enforcement didn't wait for a crime to occur. They acted on predictions. They identified people as risks, not necessarily because they had done something, but because they might do something. They viewed dissent as a threat before it even manifested. Mr. Harris revealed documents where law enforcement talked openly about preventive interdiction, intercepting individuals before they act. This is no longer reactive policing, it's proactive suppression. If they decide you're a threat, even if you haven't broken any laws, you're being watched, analyzed, and possibly disrupted in your life. This is terrifying. But something even bigger waited in Mr. Harris's final file, the biggest revelation of all. He discovered a program so large, so secret, that only a handful of people knew it existed. It was called Project Sentinel, a pseudonym, for legal safety, and it was the culmination of years of cooperation between law enforcement, intelligence agencies, and major telecoms. Project Sentinel was not just surveillance, it was prediction. It used machine learning to analyze metadata, to map social networks, to forecast who might lead movements, who might organize mass protests, even who might influence elections. Anonymous analysts wrote memos predicting hotspots of dissent months before anything happened. That means your phone history, your texts, voice calls, location logs, could be feeding a predictive algorithm, painting a profile of who you might become. And that profile could inform how agencies treat you. They could decide to monitor you more closely, to insert informants, to quietly push narratives, just because they forecast that you might become trouble. Stay till the end, my beloved child, now comes the turning point. You've seen how deeply your phone could be compromised, how law enforcement and intelligence agencies might be using your private life to predict your behavior, to manipulate your influence. But here's the most hopeful, most electrifying part. The battle for justice has begun, and there's a path out of this surveillance nightmare. Mr. Harris didn't just uncover the problem, he decided to challenge it head-on. He filed landmark lawsuits in multiple jurisdictions, demanding transparency, accountability, and constitutional protection. And this is where the stakes became painfully real. In one major case, he backed individuals who never even considered themselves targets, the teacher, the activists, everyday citizens, and asked the court, "Show us your surveillance orders. Show us your secret warrants. Prove that you aren't just spying on citizens without real cause." And the reaction from the agencies was immediate. They resisted fiercely. They argued national security. They claimed exposing their secrets would jeopardize everything. But Mr. Harris stood firm. He argued that unchecked surveillance poses a much greater threat, not just to individuals, but to democracy itself. He said, if people fear their private conversations are being used against them, they will self-censor. They will stop talking. They will stop organizing. He described the chilling effect on free speech, the erosion of trust, the quiet transformation of democracy into a calculated system of control. Don't skip now, we're closer than ever to a breakthrough. Something huge is waiting for you. In the courtroom, he presented his irrefutable proof, the internal memos, the telecom contracts, the secret surveillance directives. The judge leaned forward, reading page after page, visibly shaken. Some of the language was so disturbing that it caused gasps. The court asked tough questions. For the first time, the very agencies that operated in the shadows had to speak, on record, in public. As the case unfolded, news outlets picked it up. The public began to realize, perhaps for the first time, that their phones might not be truly theirs. Citizens started demanding answers. This was no longer just a legal fight, it became a social awakening. Then, something huge happened. In response to mounting pressure, some telecom companies quietly ended certain data-sharing agreements. Others issued statements claiming they would limit access, strengthen privacy protections. It wasn't perfect. Far from it. But it was a crack, a chance. Mr. Harris didn't stop there. He formed a coalition with civil rights organizations, technologists, privacy advocates. They worked together to draft new legal safeguards, proposed bills that would restrict bulk metadata collection, and advocated for independent oversight of surveillance programs. And then came the most emotional moment. One of his clients, the teacher, remember? Walked into a public hearing. He told the world how it felt to be spied on. Tears welled in his eyes. He said, "All I ever wanted was to be free to teach, to speak, to love, without someone listening in." That raw human sorrow resonated. People saw themselves in him. My beloved child, as this battle raged, something remarkable began to shift. What started as a secret, one-sided intrusion turned into a movement for transparency. Every day people joined in, asking, "If they can do this to me, who else?" They demanded change. They demanded respect. By the time the hearing ended, the air was different. People weren't just frightened anymore, they were empowered. They realized that their voices mattered. That their data mattered. That their privacy was something worth fighting for. Don't skip, I need you here till the end. Finally, Mr. Harris delivered his closing argument in court. He stood before the judge and said, "This isn't just about phones. This isn't just about data. It's about trust. It's about the soul of our democracy. If we let surveillance win, we sacrifice not only our present, but our future." His words echoed in the courtroom, resonating deeply. And then, something huge, a breakthrough nobody expected. The judge issued a partial victory. Some of the secret surveillance programs were curtailed. Some orders were invalidated. Agencies were instructed to report publicly on data access. And most importantly, a precedent was set: citizens have the right to contest mass surveillance, even when it's cloaked in secrecy. Today, the fight goes on, but the momentum belongs to the people. Because once you know your phone might be watched, you can never unknow it. Once you realize you have the right to demand accountability, you can't quietly let it go. My beloved child, thank you for staying with me until now. Something huge has happened, and something even more powerful is possible. The secret monitoring may have started in the shadows, but thanks to brave voices and fearless lawyers, it's moving into the open. Stay aware. Stay vigilant. And remember, your privacy is worth defending. My beloved child, now that you've seen the depth of the secret surveillance, it's time to uncover the most shocking truth, the part that law enforcement doesn't want you to know. Don't skip, stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The lawyer, Mr. Harris, discovered that your phone isn't just being monitored for crime prevention. No, it's far deeper. They track patterns, conversations, movements, and sometimes even predict your next steps. This isn't just watching, it's analyzing, categorizing, and sometimes manipulating. Imagine that every text you send, every location ping, every social media interaction is quietly feeding a machine learning system designed to profile you. Don't skip, this isn't science fiction, this is real life. And here's the kicker, most people have no idea. They assume their phones are private. They assume they are safe. But Mr. Harris's investigation proves otherwise. And the emotional toll? Unimaginable. Families, friends, even colleagues could be unknowingly exposed. People he represented felt violated, powerless, even paranoid. One client said, "It's like your own life is being rewritten without your permission." My beloved child, stay with me, this is where it gets even more intense. He uncovered that some of the surveillance was targeted not because of wrongdoing, but because of influence. Community organizers, journalists, educators, anyone whose words or actions could ripple across society. They were flagged, monitored, and sometimes subtly manipulated. It's a system that doesn't arrest everyone, it chooses quietly who to watch, who to influence, and who to silence. Don't skip, the next revelation will make your jaw drop. The top lawyer revealed a hidden loophole in the law. Agencies often exploit vague terminology like national security or preventive threat to justify surveillance without proper warrants. That means ordinary citizens can be monitored legally, yet invisibly, with no opportunity to challenge it. The law exists, but the way it's applied leaves your privacy hanging by a thread. Now, here's the most shocking part. Some of these programs even allow law enforcement to access private communications through tech companies, your apps, your email, your messaging platforms. Not because you committed a crime, but because you're part of a dataset that can be analyzed, predicted, and acted upon. My beloved child, stay till the end, don't scroll away. Something huge is waiting. Mr. Harris also found that citizens have ways to fight back. Legal challenges, public pressure, and even awareness can reduce the reach of these surveillance programs. He's guiding people to demand transparency, to question authority, to safeguard personal data. Your privacy isn't gone forever, it can be defended if you know your rights. And here's the final emotional punch: the surveillance might feel invisible, but it's a reminder of what we value. Freedom, autonomy, and privacy are worth protecting. Every message you send, every call you make, those moments are precious. And the battle to protect them is ongoing. Don't skip. Remember, the systems watching you may feel all-powerful, but awareness is your strongest weapon. Knowledge is freedom. Mr. Harris's revelations aren't just stories, they're warnings, they're calls to action. So, my beloved child, keep your eyes open, your mind sharp, and your phone aware. Because the truth is out there, and now, you've seen the depth of it. Something huge has been revealed, and it's up to you to protect yourself. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and never forget, your privacy is your power. My beloved child, the moment has come to reveal the ultimate truth about your phone, the one secret that law enforcement hopes you'll never discover. Don't skip, stay till the end, because what I'm about to tell you will completely change how you see your digital life. All the monitoring, all the tracking, isn't random. It's precise. Your calls, messages, even your location are being used to build a detailed map of who you are, who you know, and what you might do next. And here's the shocking part: it's not always about catching criminals. Sometimes it's about influence, sometimes about predicting behavior, sometimes about quietly controlling narratives. Something huge is waiting for you. Mr. Harris, the top lawyer leading this fight, uncovered hidden systems inside law enforcement and intelligence agencies. They're using advanced algorithms, metadata analysis, and cross-platform monitoring to watch ordinary citizens, people like you, without you ever knowing. The documents he obtained reveal persistent surveillance, preemptive interdiction, and risk assessment programs that quietly categorize your daily life. Imagine the power of someone knowing your every pattern, your every habit, your every connection, all from your phone. You may think, I have nothing to hide, but the danger isn't only about guilt or innocence. It's about autonomy, privacy, and freedom. And that's what makes this fight so urgent. But here's the glimmer of hope. Awareness is your weapon. By knowing how these systems operate, you can protect yourself, question authority, and demand accountability. Mr. Harris's work has already led to partial victories, programs curtailed, oversight strengthened, and public awareness raised. The fight isn't over, but the momentum is shifting. And here's the emotional truth: every text you send, every call you make, every private thought is precious. These moments are yours, and the fact that they could be monitored is a wake-up call. You can reclaim control, insist on transparency, and protect your digital life. So, my beloved child, remember this: your phone may be a window into your life, but it doesn't have to be a prison. Knowledge is your shield, vigilance is your sword, and privacy is your power. Don't skip, stay aware, and protect yourself, because now, you know the truth. Something huge has been revealed, and it's yours to act on. This is the final revelation. Stay conscious, stay empowered, and never forget, your digital freedom is worth defending.